information coming in today on what is being called a terror attack in Texas. A gunman took 4 people hostage at a Dallas area synagogue. He was killed as federal agents stormed the temple. Investigative journalist Ben Swan looks into the story.
Well, on Sunday, authorities identified that hostage taker as 44-year-old Malik Faisal Akram, a UK citizen. Authorities in the UK say they have also detained 2 teenagers in that country and held them for questioning. The siege of the synagogue began late Saturday morning as the gunman took a rabbi and 3 other people hostage. 1 hostage was released unharmed after 6 hours. The remaining 3 were then freed later, either shortly before or during the raid by the FBI's hostage rescue team. The FBI led 10 hours of tense hostage negotiations conducted by authorities here in the U.S. and also in the U.K., along with help from the gunman's family. The suspect was reported to have demanded the release of a Pakistani-born scientist who was serving a federal prison sentence in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The hostage taker claimed that he was the brother of that neuroscientist, Afia Siddiqui, who was serving an 86-year federal prison sentence in a 2010 conviction for shooting at soldiers and FBI agents, and demanded that she be freed. Siddiqui is being held at a federal medical lockup in the Fort Worth area. A lawyer representing Siddiqui told news outlets in a statement that this man is not Siddiqui's brother, and Siddiqui's family condemned his heinous actions. Akram's actual brother, Golbar, posted on Facebook that the suspect, from the industrial town of Blackburn in the north of England, suffered from mental illness and said that relatives had spent all night at a Blackburn police station liaising with Faisal, the negotiators, FBI, etc. His brother went on to say that Akram was unwilling to give himself up. Well, President Joe Biden, who was in Philadelphia with the First Lady Joe Biden, called the hostage-taking an act of terror.
This is an act of terror, and it not only was related to someone who had been arrested, I might add, 15 years ago and been in jail for 10 years. The idea is there was something new. They did just a great job. I also told him that I wanted to make sure we got the word out to synagogues and places of worship that we're not going to tolerate this, that we have this capacity to deal with assault on particularly the anti-Semitism that has grown up.
And authorities here in the U.S. are still looking at how Akram first entered the country and also where he got his weapons after he reportedly spent his first night here in the United States in a homeless shelter. Akram's family is asking that his body be returned to the U.K. for a funeral. Reporting for In Question, I'm Ben Swan.
And for more on this, we will turn to our panel. Matthew Fogg, he's a retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal, and Rabbi David Feldman, spokesman for the Orthodox Neturei Karta International. And Rabbi, forgive me if I mispronounced that. But Matthew, over to you first. Is this a case of domestic terrorism when the man was not a U.S. citizen? And also, we don't have any real laws to define domestic terrorism.
Well, you just said it. We really don't. I mean, you kind of play it by ear. And the bottom line is we just can't say for sure. I mean, they got to do a thorough investigation. The FBI will look into this thing from every angle and try to figure out if there was any nefarious motives for terrorism. But the reality of it is that he was killed. They were able to go in and secure the situation. And bottom line is, we just can't say 100%, but it's a soft target when you start talking about synagogues. And we know that a lot of times these people, these terrorists or whatever, they're going to come into these soft targets because they can get people's attention when you hit these soft targets, especially religious targets.
Absolutely. Definitely not the first time. Rabbi,
right.
President Biden has famously called white supremacy the greatest threat to domestic security. But here, this man is a British national, and there is suspicion that he has ties to Islamic extremism. 2 others associated with this man were already arrested in the UK. How is the Jewish community responding to this latest incident of terror, and do they agree with Biden's assessment?
Okay, now exactly what's behind of this and what the cause to what happened is I believe still unclear to everyone. What the Jewish communities are expressing to this incident, definitely Jewish communities among all Americans were deeply disturbed by learning the news what happened when American citizens were kept hostage and were in grave danger, and they happen to be Jewish people. They were in a great danger, and we all, as Jewish people, as general Americans, we are relieved when we learned that these people were saved. We deeply appreciate the law enforcement that did act for the safety of the American citizens, of the Jewish people, which was brave and great. We, as Jewish people, as Americans, always pray for the well-being of the American citizens, for the well-being of the Jewish people, whether in the United States or worldwide. But as Jewish people, I have to make clear that we still feel safe in the United States. We trust in God. We pray to God for the safety of all peoples, and we didn't lose our 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 comfort in the United States. Now, when we have some Jewish leaders complaining that they saw some police officers in front of synagogues in New York, that makes some kind of a political statement, which is not all Jewish people are comfortable with it.
Now, speaking of authorities, Matthew, the FBI is now saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that they're saying this hostage situation was not, quote, targeting Jews. I mean, how would you respond to that?
Well, that's again, see, once you start your investigation and you're able to question people, in which they're going to do a thorough investigation, and this is what apparently they came up with, that they saw where this wasn't specifically targeting Jews, but the point is he targeted a synagogue. So he targeted a soft, what we call soft target, which means he got the attention of people. Now, again, it would happen to be a Jewish synagogue, like it could have been a Christian synagogue, it could have been any number of places, but reality of it is that they do their research and they look into this. They can determine whether or not they believe the guy's motives were to go after Jews specifically or just looking for a soft religious target.
Rabbi, what do you think of the FBI's statement so far? We understand, we just heard from Matthew Fogg there, that the investigation has to continue before they can determine if this man specifically sought out a Jewish synagogue. But is that how the Jewish community is viewing it?
Well, I definitely agree that that more investigation has to be done here to understand and to learn exactly what the cause was, what the target was. But when we hear from the FBI that they make a statement that this is not necessarily anti-Semitism, it does make totally sense, and I'll tell you why. This might seem strange to you from a Jewish perspective, but I say this because so many Jewish people believe this. So many incidents have been described as anti-Semitic, not because they are truly an act of anti-Semitism. It's because this is being used as a political step to support the state of Israel, or to have Jewish people find their only refuge in the state of Israel, which is very, very wrong, because Jewish people live in so many other countries. I happen to be an American citizen. I trust my government. I feel safe and secure in the United States of America. What Israel tries to do already for decades to make Jewish people uncomfortable and have them believe that the only safety and security they will only have in Israel. And there's another very important point. What these pro-Israelis are trying to do with these anti-Semitism accusation, they are trying to justify all crimes they are doing to Palestine. Even though so many people throughout the world are uncomfortable, they try to justify all of this because Jewish people supposedly need it for their safety and security. This is wrong. It's against Judaism. All what Israel stands for happens to be contrary to Judaism and a violation of international law.
Rabbi, I'm glad that you brought up the state of Israel, because I want you both to listen to what the Israeli PM had to say about this, Naftali Bennett.
This event is a stark reminder that the dark forces of anti-Semitism still exist. We must and we will fight it. To the Jewish community in the U.S. and diaspora Jewry around the world, I say, you are not alone. We're one family, and we stand strong and united together.
Now, Rabbi, as we know right now, anti-Semitic incidents are actually down a very small percentage after hitting an all-time high in 2019. That's according to the Anti-Defamation League, who recorded over 2,000 incidents of assaults, harassments, and vandalism back in 2020. Their 2021 report, it is not out yet, but similarly, Asian hate crimes are up at record levels as well. Is this a matter of reporting these types of incidents, or are hate crimes against these minorities actually on the rise, as Naftali Bennett says?
Okay, first of all, I have to say something about Naftali Bennett's statement, where he says that he's going to address the problem of anti-Semitism and save the Jewish people. I totally disagree.
Right.
I totally disagree with having Naftali Bennett or the state he represents as the representation of the Jewish people or the savior of the Jewish people. This is a long discussion, not for now, but it happens to be that the state of Israel from day one put Jewish people in danger and continues to do that to the present day. But coming to what you mentioned about the Anti-Defamation League, 2,000 cases of anti-Semitism. Now, I have to admit, there are incidents of anti-Semitism. There are problems of hate crimes. This is ongoing. This is nothing new. But these numbers that the Anti-Defamation League gives out has no credibility whatsoever. It happens to be that, in my view, we can divide these incidents in three parts. One would be incidents that happened that might be nothing related to anti-Semitism, which might be the case today with these hostages that we are dealing today. We had an incident. I'm going to the second part. Second part is those incidents that happened directly because the actions of the state of Israel. Now, we have Jewish people facing hatred because of some actions that some people from Jewish descent do on the account of all. Let me give you a very short example. 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn, New York, there was an incident where a Jewish teenager walked with an IDF shirt into a Palestinian neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York, provocating the people and just causing problems.
Yes.
The third would be that minority of cases which happens to be true anti-Semitism.
Yeah, there's a lot we can get into here. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I have to leave it there. Matthew Fogg and Rabbi Dovid Feldman, thank you both for weighing in on this very, touchy situation. Thank you.